Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. President Draupadi Murmu confers India's highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, 4 luminaries honoured posthumously for exceptional service to the nation. Pakistani crew thanks India after Navy rescues vessel from Somali pirates. Indian Navy successfully undertakes 12-hour anti-piracy operation in the Arabian Sea.
Indian Navy का शुक्रिया. India जिंदाबाद.
Israel's military denies claims of airstrike on a vehicle carrying United Nations observers in Lebanon. Shipment carrying 400 tons of food for Gaza leaves Cyprus port. And Russian missile and drone attacks hit power plants in central and western Ukraine. Conflict enters 25th month. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, presented Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian award, at an investiture ceremony held at Rashtrapati Bhavan on Saturday. It is awarded for exceptional service and performance of the highest order in any field of human endeavour.
Bharat Ratna is the highest civilian award in India, rewarded for the paramount degrees of national service and recognition of exceptional performance in any field of human endeavour. President Draupadi Murmu awarded the posthumous Bharat Ratna award to former Prime Ministers Chaudhry Charan Singh and P.V. Narasimha Rao, along with former Bihar Chief Minister Karpuri Thakur and agronomist M.S. Swaminathan. Their relatives expressed the joy and pride while receiving the award as they remembered the luminaries. Chaudhry Charan Singh, the former Prime Minister of India, was a multifaceted personality, an ardent patriot and an able administrator. He was also known to be a great scholar of Indian economics and planning. His grandson Jayant Chaudhary was thankful to the Indian government for recognizing the efforts of Chaudhry Charan Singh as an Indian citizen.
I am very happy. My family was here. Many members have come from abroad to witness this historic occasion. And we are all feeling very, very proud for our countrymen, for the long journey that my grandfather took from the village to the echelons of power, and it has been recognized at the highest level. The highest civilian award has been bestowed upon him, and through that award I feel that same spirit of pride and emotion is being felt across the country today.
Karpuri Thakur, the former Chief Minister of Bihar, was a freedom fighter, a visionary statesman and a champion of the cause of farmers, women and disadvantaged sections of the society. His son Ramnath Thakur reiterated the politician's effort for the weaker communities of the society and expressed his gratitude for the award.
मैं बहुत खुश हूँ और मैं ही नहीं, पूरे बिहार के लोग, पूरे हिंदुस्तान के लोग जो उपेक्षित थे, दुखी थे, भारत सरकार ने ये समझा कि जननायक कर्पूरी ठाकुर जी को भारत रत्न दिया जाए और उन्होंने 36 वर्षों के बाद दिया.
Dr. Monakombu Sambasivan Swaminathan was the legendary father of India's Green Revolution. His role was instrumental in creation of agricultural research in other developing countries as well. He brought attention to women in rice farming and strengthened agricultural research across Southeast Asia. His daughter Nitya Rao remembered her father's work while expressing gratitude for the award.
We are very happy that he has received this honour today. His whole life was dedicated to farmers' welfare and farmers' well-being, and his biggest dream was that India should be not just a food secure but also a nutrition secure country where every citizen will have sufficient good quality food to eat and no one will go to bed hungry.
All the recipients of Bharat Ratna Award have been honoured for their dedication towards the country and their distinguished contribution in their respective fields. Bureau Report, DD India.
On to our other big story. After successfully forcing the surrender of 9 armed pirates, Indian Navy's specialist teams have completed sanitization and seaworthiness checks of fishing vehicle Al-Kambar. The Indian Navy also freed at least 23 Pakistani nationals from the grasp of Somali pirates after a 12-hour operation in the Arabian Sea. They were also given thorough medical checkup prior to clearing the boat to continue with its fishing activities. The 9 pirates are being brought to India for further legal action in accordance with the Maritime Anti-Piracy Act. Rescued Pakistani crew members thanked Indian Navy for rescuing them from Somali pirates.
कल दोपहर 3 बजे रात से इंडियन नेवी मेरे पीछे लगी हुई है इमदाद कुमक के लिए। पूरी रात इन लोगों ने मगजमारी की, जोर लगाया सोमालियों से। आज पूरी दिन अभी दिन की 4 बजे होने वाली है। इंडियन नेवी ने मुझे आज़ाद कर दिया, सोमालियों को निकाल दिया है। अभी मैं आज़ाद हूँ। इंडियन नेवी का शुक्रिया। इंडिया जिंदाबाद।
The Indian Army, in a breathtaking display of precision and strength, carried out the Rising Sun BrahMos missile strike over the Andaman Nicobar Islands on Friday. Posting images and video on social media platform X, Army's Eastern Command says the BrahMos missile soared high above the Andaman Nicobar Islands, igniting the sky with its unparalleled might. They showcased Indian Army's capability as a formidable force for peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region. The event serves as a reminder of India's dedication to defending its sovereignty and fostering regional stability. Indian Army released a video of Akash air defense system, quick deployment and engagement of high maneuverable aerial target drones. Here's more. Let's turn to some international updates now. Israel launched fresh strikes on alleged Hamas infrastructure in Gaza on Saturday, even as United States is reported to have authorized delivery of more bombs and warplanes for Israel. Meanwhile, an airstrike in Lebanon wounded 4 United Nations officials. Israel denies it had anything to do with it.
Footage released by the Israeli army on Saturday shows what the Israeli army described as strikes on Hamas targets in Gaza. Israel says it is targeting Hamas militants who use civilian buildings, including apartment blocks and hospitals, for cover. Hamas denies doing so. In another development, an airstrike hit a vehicle carrying United Nations observers outside the southern Lebanese border town of Remish, wounding 4 officials. United Nations peacekeeping mission investigating the origin of the blast said targeting of peacekeepers was unacceptable. Israeli military has been trading fire with the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah but denied striking in the area. Meanwhile, United States has reported to have authorized delivery of more bombs and warplanes for Israel. On Friday, Biden acknowledged, quote-unquote, the pain being felt by many Arab Americans over the war in Gaza and over US support for Israel and its military offensive. Still, he has vowed continued support for Israel despite an increasingly public rift with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. US has also welcomed nomination of a new Palestinian Authority cabinet. The State Department has said a revitalized Palestinian Authority is essential to delivering results for the Palestinian people in both the West Bank and Gaza. Amidst the conflict, efforts to secure a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict continues. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed to send delegations to Egypt and Qatar to push forward the negotiations. Bureau Report, DD India.
And DD India correspondent Alex Kadia joins us live from Tel Aviv. Alex, with Israel showing willingness to engage in Gaza peace talks, how will they be taken forward from here?
Well, certainly we're going to have delegations from Shin Bet, the Israeli security agency, and the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency. Now, initially it was reported that Ronen Bar, the head of Shin Bet, and David Barnea, the head of the Mossad, would be attending these talks in person. That is not the case. This will be a first round of talks in Cairo with officials only, and we understand that if that is successful and if some kind of progress is made in these negotiations, then and only then will Ronen Bar and David Barnea, those very, very high-level Israeli officials, head to join these negotiations. Now, we remember that the last proposal on the table had been tabled by the United States and accepted by Israel. It was 40 Israeli hostages, women, injured and elderly hostages being held in Gaza, would be released in exchange for 700 Palestinian prisoners, 100 of which are serving life sentences in Israel for murdering Israelis. Now, that was refused by Hamas. They said that some of their conditions, including the full return of civilians to northern Gaza, the full withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip, and a much longer ceasefire, they say those conditions were not met. So that is the kind of difference that these two sides will be dealing with. That is what those Israeli officials will be trying to crack when it comes to getting a deal. But clearly the negotiators had been pulled back just 4 days ago by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after the UN Security Council voted to call for a ceasefire and the release of the hostages, a vote on which the United States, Israel's closest ally, abstained. So certainly a lot of work still to be done in these ceasefire negotiations, Shubhendu.
And we talk about the developments in the region. What do we know about the airstrike in Lebanon that wounded UN officials? Israel denies any role.
Yeah, well, initially the Reuters news agency was reporting that security sources had told them that an Israeli strike had targeted a car carrying UN observers. Now, the United Nations has since clarified their version of events, and it is not the full picture of what happened, but what they said was 3 observers and 1 Lebanese translator were injured when a shell exploded next to them when they were on a foot patrol in southern Lebanon. So that does not tell us where the shell came from, who the shell belonged to, and certainly that question remains unanswered. The United Nations saying all facts have to be established very clearly, but any violence against UN observers is entirely unacceptable, says the United Nations. Now, as I previously said, we had reports, particularly in Lebanese state media, that this had been from an Israeli drone strike. That has been denied by Israeli officials, who say they had nothing to do with these UN observers being injured. All 4 of the individuals injured in this shell explosion were just injured, no fatalities at this point, but it really shows that southern Lebanon, northern Israel, the potential escalation with Hezbollah is making that area an incredibly dangerous place to operate, an incredibly risky place for the United Nations observers. But also we heard the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant saying that Israeli operations in southern Lebanon and against Hezbollah will only escalate in the coming days and weeks. Shubhendu.
And Alex, a mega shipment of food supplies is headed for Gaza from Cyprus. What is the latest on the humanitarian situation in the conflict zone?
Well, the humanitarian situation in Gaza remains absolutely desperate. There's no question about that. That has not changed, despite the ICJ ordering Israel to allow more humanitarian aid to flow into the Gaza Strip. You continue to have reports from aid agencies working on the ground of looming famine, of deaths. We've seen more Israeli airstrikes in Gaza just today. But that second ship heading towards Gaza from the port of Larnaca in Cyprus could be a small lifeline of hope for those desperately hungry people in Gaza. It is a barge carrying 400 tons of food. That is twice as much as the first ship. It'll be accompanied by 2 salvage vessels which will help it get as close as possible to the Gaza Strip. The World Central Kitchen charity out of the United States and the Open Arms charity out of Spain are coordinating this trip. The sailing will take 65 hours to get to Gaza. The ships are carrying rice, pasta, flour, vegetables, canned goods and proteins, as well as dates, of course, which are traditionally eaten to break the fast during this holy month of Ramadan. So at the moment, 1 million meals on the way to Gaza, but still the situation on the ground, Shubhendu, is very desperate.
Alex, appreciate you joining us with those updates. The US Air Force conducted airdrop operations over Gaza Strip on Friday. US military says it deployed a C-17 aircraft and personnel with expertise in airdrop operations from South Carolina's Joint Base Charleston to execute the delivery of aid for civilians affected by the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The military says the airdrop was 18th such operation since March 2nd. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Dutch hostage situation in nightclub ends with the release of last hostage and arrest of one suspect. US President Biden says he will go to Baltimore next week following key bridge collapse earlier this week. And police raid Peruvian President Boluarte's home in luxury watch investigation.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia has entered its 25th month, marked by recent escalations. On Saturday, Ukraine's Air Force reported Russia shooting down 12 drones and firing 4 missiles into eastern Ukraine, damaging the energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, despite challenges in receiving aid from the US due to disputes in the Congress, Ukraine managed to bag approximately $9 billion in external financing in March, including crucial $1.5 billion World Bank tranche.
The Ukrainian Air Force stated on Saturday that Russia had shot 12 drones across the nation and 4 missiles into eastern Ukraine during the course of the conflict, which is approaching its 25-month mark. According to reports, Russia's most recent attack severely damaged Ukraine's energy infrastructure in a number of places. The US had already sent a warning to Ukraine last week, asking it to desist from attacking Russia's energy infrastructure. The latest attacks come as Ukraine is already grappling with the lack of promised US military aid. President Zelensky has expressed concerns that without this aid, Ukrainian forces may be forced to retreat in small steps. However, Ukraine received a much-needed boost in funding from the World Bank when it announced a crucial $1.5 billion tranche contributed by Britain and Japan.
Ukraine has largely depended on foreign support to cover its budget needs. Now that Ukraine has received an additional $1.5 billion from the World Bank program, and also recently the EU approving the disbursement of $4.5 billion, the outlook seems more positive, but these recent delays have raised uncomfortable questions on how Ukraine will be able to finance its expenditures if support were to stop.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky continues to make changes to officials close to him, with significant dismissals and appointments announced on Friday. Among the 2 deputy heads dismissed, Andriy Smirnov was responsible for legal policy matters, and Oleksiy Dniprov headed the office's apparatus. As the conflict between Ukraine and Russia enters its 25th month, marked by recent escalations, the international community remains closely monitoring the developments with hope of restoring the status that existed before the conflict started in 2022. Bureau Report, DD India.
Amidst the aftermath of the tragic concert hall attack near Moscow on March 22nd that claimed lives of at least 144 people, Tajikistan has witnessed a surge in migrant workers returning from Russia. Tajikistan's Ministry of Labour, Migration and Employment reported a significant increase in the number of migrant workers seeking to leave Russia, particularly after the arrest of 4 Tajik citizens suspected to be involved in the attack. Earlier, Tajikistan's State National Security Committee detained 9 people on Monday who it believed had links to the Russian concert hall shooting suspects. And DD India's correspondent Dasha Chernyshova joins us live from Moscow. Dasha, Russia has targeted Ukraine's energy installations. Is Moscow adopting a particular strategy in these new escalations?
Well, what we hear from the Russian authorities is that its so-called special military operation is ongoing, and that's why Moscow is targeting all the objects that are one way or another related to the military infrastructure of Ukraine. Now, we've heard from the Russian Ministry of Defense that over the course of the past week, they have carried out one massive strike and 57 group strikes with high-precision, long-range weapons. Those were also including the strikes with Zircon and Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. Now, Moscow is saying it is targeting the places of the deployment of the Ukrainian armed forces, as well as the locations where the Western equipment is stored, energy infrastructure, as well as the military command posts that are responsible for the taking of the decisions by the Ukrainian military. They also insist that they are targeting the warehouses where the Ukrainian army is assembling and repairing the drones that are later on targeting the civilian targets inside Russia, particularly in the border regions of Belgorod, Bryansk and Kursk. We've heard that over the past 24 hours, for instance, Belgorod has been attacked 50 times at least. That's according to the local authorities.
And Dasha, what is the latest in the investigation into the concert hall terror attack?
Well, the investigation is ongoing. We understand from the investigative committee that the focus now is on interrogating the accomplices, on interrogating the suspects, as well as questioning the witnesses, those who have become the victims of the Krakow City Hall attack. The interrogators are looking at the reconstruction of the exact sequence of the events. Now, the understanding is that Ukraine is behind this attack one way or another. According to the Russian investigators, there was the man who has recruited the 4 shooters who were arrested by the Russian law enforcement agencies, and that man was given his instructions, according to the investigative committee, to the shooters via the Telegram messaging app. He was sending the voice messages, and one of the issues that the investigative committee has raised was that it was the man who actually instructed the shooters to head towards the Ukrainian border, to cross it and to get to Kiev to claim their reward for the for the committed act of terrorism. So the probe is ongoing, but Moscow insists that the Islamic State alone, which is banned in Russia, would not have been able to perpetrate this attack.
Dasha, thank you for those updates. Moving on, a hostage situation at a nightclub in eastern Netherlands ended on Saturday as police freed all the hostages and arrested a person suspected in the incident. Police says there was no indication of a terrorist motive. Investigations of the explosives is underway. It is also said that 150 homes were evacuated and public was asked to stay away from the area. As per media reports, a gunman took several people hostage earlier on Saturday at a Petticoat nightclub and threatened to detonate a bomb. A major cleanup effort is underway in the United States city of Baltimore, where crews are beginning to clear up the wreckage created by the collapse of the bridge earlier this week. A cargo ship collided with Francis Scott Key Bridge on Tuesday. It remains in the middle of the Patapsco River, blocking shipping traffic. Officials say they are working full speed to reopen the vital shipping channel. DD India's Sally Patterson gets us more.
The governor of the US state of Maryland, Wes Moore, says workers at the scene have an incredibly complex job on their hands. They're tasked with cleaning up to 4,000 tons of debris left behind after Tuesday's bridge collapse in Baltimore. Authorities believe the bodies of 4 of the victims, who are presumed dead after the collision, could be buried underneath the rubble. Governor Moore says recovering them is a top priority to bring closure, he says, to their families. His state has been awarded an initial $60 million in emergency funds by the US government to clear the vital waterway and begin rebuilding the bridge.
To know that out there you have to navigate high winds and electric wires, To go out there and to see it up close, you realize just how daunting a task this is. You realize how difficult the work is ahead of us. With a salvage operation this complex, and frankly, with a salvage operation this unprecedented, you need to plan for every single moment, and every time you take action to move a piece of wreckage, you understand that that requires you to reassess the situation.
US President Joe Biden has promised to pay for the reconstruction, stressing the importance of the port of Baltimore to the economy. More cars and trucks go through that port each year than any other in the country, and last year it transported $80 billion worth of goods. There are concerns that there could be a spike in prices, at least temporarily, while supply chains are disrupted. And more locally, at least 8,000 workers on the docks have jobs that are directly impacted by the collapse. Meanwhile, the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating what caused the incident. The agency is interviewing the crew members from the ship, which was headed to Sri Lanka. It's also revealed the cargo ship was carrying 56 containers of hazardous materials, some of which spilled during the crash. The agency's chair called the investigation a massive undertaking, which could take up to 2 years to complete. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
And US President Joe Biden says he will go to Baltimore next week following the Key Bridge collapse earlier this week. Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed early on Tuesday after a cargo ship that had lost power hit the bridge in Baltimore Harbor in Maryland. Meanwhile, US government has approved an emergency fund of around $60 million for the bridge's reconstruction. Meanwhile, construction workers in Baltimore paid tributes to the 6 migrants who were killed after the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge on Tuesday. The event was hosted by CASA, an organization that provides services to immigrant and working-class families in the U.S. 2 of the victims were members of this organization.
Joined together today for a somber moment of honoring the 6 brothers who lost their lives during the Key Bridge collapse this week, and the essential workers who performed the dangerous yet critical work of the construction industry.
Pray, Señor, oramos, that you open the doors, que tú abras la puerta, so that our people can work safely, para que nuestra gente puede trabajar seguros without any dangers.
There is concern over a rise in dengue cases across North and South America this year. The number of cases already in 2024 this year suggests it is likely to be the worst ever year, with places such as Puerto Rico scrambling to contain the mosquito-borne illnesses. Caroline Malone gets us more.
There have been 3.5 million cases of dengue so far only this year across the Americas. That's 3 times as many cases as there were in the first 3 months of 2023. It's setting a worrying trend for the illness that is spread by infected mosquitoes, as it can make people very sick with headaches, vomiting and severe joint pain, and it is potentially deadly. Well, one of the regions that's scrambling to contain an outbreak is the US territory of Puerto Rico, which has declared an epidemic as hospitalizations from the illness surge. Well, dengue is less common on the US mainland, but there have been cases in Florida, Texas and California states in recent years. Well, the majority of cases in the region are in Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, Peru and Colombia. Scientists think that changing weather from climate change is having an impact on this year's spread. Plus, there's also El Niño, which is creating warmer temperatures and rising sea levels. Well, dengue comes from the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It's commonly found in warmer, more humid parts of the world, particularly if there's bad sanitation and water gathering where mosquitoes can breed rapidly. Last year, there were 4.5 million cases across the Americas and 2,400 reported deaths. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. The home of Peru's president was raided by an anti-corruption investigation team on Saturday over an undeclared Rolex watch collection by President Dina Boluarte. The Peruvian police launched the raid following a newspaper report about her wearing luxury watches of mysterious origin that had not been declared in public records. Malaysian authorities arrested 3 people suspected of supplying firearms to a 36-year-old man carrying an Israeli passport on Saturday. The man arrested with a bag containing 6 handguns and 200 bullets arrived at Kuala Lumpur International Airport from the UAE. An alarming number of pertussis or whooping cough cases have been recorded in Philippines. Several cities have declared an outbreak with dozens of children continuing to contract the illness. The city's health office is on high alert as reports of infection and deaths continue to escalate. Most of the victims who succumbed to the disease were infants and toddlers. Indonesian firefighters were struggling to put out a massive fire that broke out on Saturday at a military ammunition facility just outside of Jakarta, causing a series of explosions and sending clouds of smoke into the night sky. No one was reported to have died in the incident. I'm heading for a short break. Still to come on DD India News Hour. We track the day's big developments in the run-up to general elections in India. India's Ministry of External Affairs says government collaborating closely with Cambodian authorities has rescued and repatriated about 250 Indians. Nigeria is set to release more than 300 suspects who were thought to be part of the militant group Boko Haram.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. President Draupadi Murmu confers India's highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, 4 luminaries honoured posthumously for exceptional service to the nation. Pakistani crew thanks India after Navy rescues vessels from Somali pirates. Indian Navy successfully undertakes 12-hour anti-piracy operation in the Arabian Sea. Israel's military denies claims of airstrike on a vehicle carrying United Nations observers in Lebanon. Shipment carrying 400 tons of food for Gaza leaves Cyprus port. And Russian missile and drone attacks hit power plants in central and western Ukraine. Conflict enters 25th month. Let's now get you what's the latest happening in India's run-up to the world's largest democratic elections. Let's track the political developments of the day in India in the run-up to the general elections. BJP announced its election manifesto committee. On Saturday, also saw BJP releasing the 8th list of 11 candidates to contest from Orissa, Punjab and West Bengal in the upcoming elections. The opposition, meanwhile, plans a mega rally on Sunday. The Election Commission has banned conduct, publication, publicizing of exit polls between April 19th till June 1st. Now, that's the period of voting in India.
With the upcoming general elections in India, the political landscape is heating up. Campaigns are in full swing as political parties leave no stone unturned to woo voters. India's ruling party, BJP, announced its election manifesto committee for the upcoming parliamentary elections. Party President JP Nadda announced the 27-member committee headed by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh with Union Ministers Nirmala Sitharaman and Piyush Goyal as convener and co-convener respectively. On Saturday, India's Minister for Jal Shakti Gajendra Singh Shekhawat and the Bharatiya Janata Party candidate from Rajasthan's Jodhpur filed his nomination papers. Union Minister and BJP candidate V. Muralidharan filed his nomination from Artingal constituency in Kerala on Saturday. Union Minister and BJP candidate Rajiv Chandrasekhar has filed his nomination from Thiruvananthapuram. He will directly contest against Congress MP Shashi Tharoor for the third consecutive time.
It is a mission for me to transform Thiruvananthapuram and put Thiruvananthapuram on a path where it can go forward and people can really start enjoying the benefits of Narendra Modi ji's governance.
Archana Patil Chakurkar, daughter-in-law of former Lok Sabha Speaker Shivraj Patil, has joined the BJP on Saturday. And BJP candidate from Nagpur and Union Minister Nitin Gadkari held a roadshow in Nagpur central area on Saturday. A large number of people were present during this event. In Uttarakhand's Almora, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami held a roadshow to campaign for the BJP candidate Ajay Tamta. The Lok Jan Shakti Party, Ram Vilas, which is part of the NDA, released its list of 5 candidates for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections on Saturday. As per the list, party chief Chirag Paswan will contest from Hajipur. On the other hand, Sunday will witness opposition leaders from across the board, including Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, attending the Indie Bloc's mega rally in New Delhi. Ahead of the rally, Congress leader and Rajya Sabha MP Jairam Ramesh held a press conference, emphasizing that the rally would focus on issues, not individuals.
मुद्दा है लोकतंत्र को बचाना, मुद्दा है संविधान को बचाना, व्यक्ति केंद्रित रैली नहीं है। दूसरी बात मैं कहूं, ये किसी एक पार्टी की रैली नहीं है। कुछ 28 पार्टियां इसमें शामिल हैं। सारे इंडिया गठबंधन, इंडिया जनबंधन इसमें शामिल है।
30 days after resigning as an MLC in Karnataka, the BJP's Tejaswini Gowda joined the Congress party on Saturday. As the nation gears up for the elections, all eyes are on the political developments unfolding in the world's largest democracy. Mihir Makri for DD India.
And let's get some political updates from Ground Zero. DD India correspondent Yogesh Sheetal is joining us live from Mumbai, from western state of Maharashtra, and Anna Barsaran is joining us from Chennai, from the southern state of Tamil Nadu. Yogesh, let me come to you first. What is the latest from Maharashtra electioneering? How are the alliance issues being sorted out by NDA and India Alliance?
Shubhendu, the first part of the question, but I'll respond to that part. See, as far as political developments are concerned here in Mumbai, you have already highlighted in your report also that yes, the Archana Patil, basically Archana Patil has joined BJP, which is in fact a big news for BJP because the Marathwada region, basically one of the important regions, political landscape, Marathwada is a very important reason to secure the targeted seat that BJP is eyeing at. This is very important, Marathwada region, and this is, Archana is the second, you can say, second big figure from Congress. Already we are seen in Nanded, Ashok Chavan recently joined BJP. So this is going to be a very turning point, you can say, as far as the political developments is concerned here in Mumbai as well as in Maharashtra. Now, there are two important things let me highlight at this point in time. The first is Sharad Pawar-led NCP has released the list of candidates. 5 candidates have been, the list of 5 candidates have been released. On the other hand, after intense speculation, the cat is finally out of the bag, and the Ajit Pawar-led NCP has declared that Sunitra would be the candidate from Baramati seat. So Sunitra Pawar is the wife of Ajit Pawar, who is the cousin of Sharad Pawar's daughter Supriya Sule. Now, if you just focus on that Baramati constituency, through entire political landscape here in Maharashtra, Baramati is not only only a constituency, but in fact a bastion for NCP. And if you see the entire Western Maharashtra, this was the seat which was much debated. Also, Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, the senior BJP leader Nirmala Sitharaman, I'm just correcting myself. The senior BJP leader Nirmala Sitharaman had also made a comprehensive visit during the PM Sansad rally that she was carrying out the rally there, and she also approached that particular constituency. BJP was trying to infiltrate in that constituency, and when now the NCP, which is led by Ajit Pawar, is now an alliance of Mahayuti, which is BJP, Eknath Shinde led Shiv Sena, and finally Ajit Pawar Shiv Sena. So Ajit Pawar led NCP. So Baramati seat is definitely going to be in the news for the next few days. However, the date of election is the Baramati will be going for voting in third phase on 7th of May. So it remains to be seen that what happens on Baramati. That will be the main point of attention in terms of Maharashtra. Yeah.
Okay, from Mumbai, let's go across to Chennai. And Bharatsan, Tamil Nadu will poll in a single phase on April 19th. How is the campaigning heating up? Also give us some insight into the sort of triangular contest between the DMK, ADMK and BJP coalitions in the state.
Yes, Subhendu, as you said, Tamil Nadu is going for the phase 1 itself on April 19th. Today is the last date for the candidate withdrawal, and just now before only the Election Commission has released the final list for the candidates who are going to contest in the Lok Sabha election on April 19th. Around 950 candidates are contesting. Out of that, 76 women candidates, and particularly maximum of the Karur constituency, where that around 54 candidates. And also from Nagapattinam constituency, 6 candidates are fighting. Around Tamil Nadu across, this election going to be one of the litmus tests for all the 3 alliances, particularly DMK, ADMK and BJP. The DMK, after getting power in the state in nearly 2.5 years, and also the ADMK recently break alliance with BJP last year, and BJP also formed very new alliances in Tamil Nadu. Out of 39 constituencies, BJP has fielded a very star-packed candidates in Coimbatore, the state president Annamalai, and also the South Chennai, the former governor of Puducherry and Telangana, Tamilisai Soundararajan, and Virudhunagar actress Radhika Sarath Kumar, and also Kanyakumari, the former MOS for the finance, Pon Radhakrishnan, and also Nilgiris against the DMK candidate R. Asa, the current INB MOS minister L. Murugan, all are contesting. This election, it's going to be for the ADMK, kind of they need to must win, because already the narrative BJP is setting in Tamil Nadu. It's a DMK versus BJP. For that, ADMK is maintaining a very strong campaign across Tamil Nadu. Edappadi K. Palaniswamy as going across various assembly constituencies and campaigning. So in that, he is continuously accusing a DMK for anti-incumbency, mismanagement in the flood situation. And also the Prime Minister yesterday interacted with BJP polling booth workers via video conference. He insisted DMK, whenever it comes to the government, it always mismanagement and also the corruption and various allegations Prime Minister has insisted on via that video conference into the BJP polling booth workers. And this election kind of a multi-corner fight between all these alliances. Right. Particularly, this is going to be en route to the 2026 election, where the state assembly, it's going to be a DMK versus BJP or DMK versus ADMK.
And we'll have to see how
for that BJP is
campaigning for now comes along.
Gaining some seats are more important that. Yeah.
Right. And Bharatsan, Yogesh, thank you for joining us with those updates. Elections in India have been festive occasions, almost like carnivals. Citizens choose leaders for their local bodies, state legislatures, and of course, the nation, the general elections in India. Here's a report on the scale and vastness of elections in the country.
These are not moments of jubilation for a marriage or a family occasion. Neither it's the fervor of Diwali, the celebration of light, or Holi, the festival of colors. These are celebrations India witnesses round the year, the celebrations during the festival of elections. These happen in different pockets of India at different times of a year, and it happens almost every year. The objective of these festivities celebrated by citizens of India is to choose leaders and representatives who would run their municipalities, states, and also their nation, India. The carnival of the world's largest democracy is set to reach its peak in the next few weeks across all pockets of the country as India prepares for the general elections. It's a carnival in every sense of the word, in terms of spectacle of colours, hurly-burly, noise and exuberance. It's a festival of people's participation to run a country that has set benchmarks hard to match anywhere else in the world. The festival is observed by all Indian adults who are 18 years and above. The organizer of the major elections across the country is the Election Commission of India, or the ECI. The Election Commission is an autonomous body set up under the provisions of the Indian Constitution. It's responsible for administering the national and state election processes in the country. The body conducts and supervises elections to the Indian Parliament, comprising the Lok Sabha, the lower house, and the Rajya Sabha, the upper house. It is also responsible for the elections to the legislative assemblies and legislative councils of the 28 Indian states and the offices of the President and Vice President of India. Elections in 3 union territories, including India's capital New Delhi, Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir, is also conducted by the Election Commission. In the elections to the Lok Sabha, citizens of India vote directly to elect the representatives in the Parliament's lower house. These elected members eventually decide on the country's Prime Minister, usually the leader of the party or the coalition with maximum representation in the House. The elections to the state assemblies decide on the heads of the state governments, known as the chief ministers. This year too, the ECI is slated to conduct elections in 6 Indian states, but the mother of all polls, the general elections, is being organized by the ECI, its first major assignment this year. The election authority is all geared up for the biggest task. This is the exercise it undertakes once every 5 years. It now faces the Herculean task of conducting elections to the 543 seats of the Lok Sabha, the lower house of the Indian Parliament, which would involve huge logistic, security and organizational engagement. The winners of these seats will eventually decide the next national government and the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy, India.
Nearly 1 billion Indians will participate in the upcoming elections. Moving on, amid reports of several Indian nationals stuck in Cambodia who were lured with employment opportunities, India's Ministry of External Affairs on Saturday has said the Indian Embassy in Cambodia has been promptly responding to complaints from Indian nationals. He said Indians were lured with employment opportunities in Cambodia, were forced to undertake illegal cyber work. The ministry said so far about 250 Indians have been rescued and repatriated. Several advisories have also been issued by the ministry and Embassy of India in Cambodia. The ministry reiterates that India is committed to helping all Indian nationals in Cambodia who seek support. Ministry is closely working with Cambodian authorities and with agencies in India to crack down on those responsible for these fraudulent schemes. The High Commission of India for Sri Lanka organised an iftar at Gale Face Hotel in Colombo on Saturday, appreciating India's gesture towards strengthening people-to-people contact and cooperation. Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Emir Mali Sabri recalled India's assistance and support extended by the country to the island nation. He thanked Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Ministers Dr. Jaishankar and Nirmala Sitharaman for timely assistance during the economic crisis of 2022. On the occasion, High Commissioner of India Santosh Jha said both India and Sri Lanka are committed towards deepening the long-term economic partnership. Nigeria is set to release more than 300 suspects who were thought to be part of notorious militant group Boko Haram. It follows the lack of evidence trying them to any crime committed by the extremist group. DD India's correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports.
At least 313 people have been on trial in northern Nigeria over suspicions of being members of the militant group Boko Haram. After a series of court proceedings, the judge sitting on the case has ordered the government to release them because the prosecutors could not provide evidence that the suspects had committed any crime. It is, however, not clear how long the suspects have been in custody or where they were being kept. But a government official says steps are underway to release them. Human rights groups have expressed concern over Nigerian authorities holding suspects for long periods without trial. In 2010, some Boko Haram suspects were detained and only went on trial 8 years later because of lack of enough evidence against them. The militant group Boko Haram has been active for more than 15 years, spreading violence and kidnapping people in many parts of northern Nigeria. In 2009, the group launched an insurgency which sought to overthrow the government. It has also been involved in the kidnapping of schoolgirls, most of whom have still not been found. Nabil Ahmed Rufai in Accra, Ghana, reporting for DD India.
A tropical cyclone Gamane that swept across the island of Madagascar this week has killed at least 18 people, displaced thousands more. The country's disaster management office informed the cyclone was predicted to bypass the Indian Ocean island, but it changed course, leaving hundreds of homes destroyed. DD India's Isaac Lucando has more.
Authorities say Cyclone Gaman has displaced more than 20,000 people, with 3 others still unaccounted for. They say the cyclone was advancing with wind speeds of around 150 kilometers per hour and gusts reaching 210 kilometers per hour. Aerial footage shows water-filled settlements with residents attempting to rescue those trapped in flooded homes. Humanitarian partners are working with authorities to scale up response, but assessing the full scope of the destruction has proven challenging. Many villages in the region remain cut off from the rest of the country, hampering access for rescue teams. The cyclone season in the southwestern Indian Ocean typically extends from November to April, generating about a dozen storms every year. For this reason, Madagascar, situated off the southeastern African coast, consistently endures the brunt of such severe weather events. A year ago, tropical cyclone Freddy wreaked havoc across the nation and its neighbors Mozambique and Malawi, resulting in the tragic loss of over 500 lives. Isaac Lucando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
The Millennium Seed Bank is celebrating a major milestone after banking more than 40,000 different plant species in an effort to preserve rare, threatened and important wild plants. Dubbed the Noah's Ark for plants, the MSB holds the Guinness World Record for the largest seed bank facility on Earth.
Under this typical British landscape lies a very international one. Seeds from more than 100 countries are stored at the Millennium Seed Bank. As flooding, drought and wildfires sweep the world with increasing frequency, the project aims to protect the plants facing destruction.
Seed banks are the way to say, right, well, we need to fix that problem in situ. Let's get the seed off-piste, if you like. We get them back in the seed bank so we can look after them, keep them in good quality, so that when we do have this climate modification or climate strategies to help prevent that raising of temperature on the East African mountains, as an example, we're ready to go. We're ready with material that can be used to put things back in the wild.
Seeds are collected from the wild and sent to the bank for processing. After being cleaned and dried, they make their way into a specially designed underground facility. 2 in 5 of the world's plant species are at risk of extinction. To protect them, their seeds are kept inside this vault, which is resistant to flooding, explosions, and radiation. 2.4 billion individual seeds are stored here. The project is the result of extensive networks with scientists around the world.
We don't have an active partnership with India at the moment, but at a recent workshop in Bhutan back in October of last year, we were lucky enough to have a botanist from the Botanical Survey of India come to offer his expertise. He was very excited about setting up a seed banking collaboration with other. India has vast botanical expertise, but they don't have a big network of seed banks, so we're very excited to work with them about helping them to develop, increase their seed conservation capacity.
The seed bank has been described as an insurance policy against extinction. In the event of disaster, these backups will provide the key to restoring natural habitats. Julia Chapman in West Sussex, England, reporting for DD India.
Saving the seeds for the future. Let's now take a look at other stories making news. Jammu and Kashmir police, along with paramilitary forces, held flag march in Kashmir Valley. The march is aimed to instill a sense of security among people for smooth elections in the state. The flag march was led by superintendent-level police officers in the city and other parts of Kashmir. India's Enforcement Directorate summoned Delhi Minister and Aam Aadmi Party leader Kailash Gehlot in an alleged money laundering case linked to the Delhi liquor policy. Minister Gehlot is currently the Minister for Home, Transport and Law in the Delhi government. Special Cell of Delhi Police filed a charge sheet against news portal NewsClick in Delhi's Patiala House Court on Saturday. The police team brought 8,000-page charge sheet copy and relevant documents in the court. This is DD India News Hour, time for sports. Let's talk about Kho-Kho. India's 56th National Kho-Kho Championship is currently underway in the national capital. Railways team defeated Puducherry in their last group match today to emerge as the pool topper in Group A and also advance to the pre-quarter-finals. Kolhapur defeated Delhi in Group C, while Maharashtra Police defeated Jharkhand in Group D. The pre-quarter-finals and quarter-finals in both men's and women's section will take place on Sunday, with the semis and finals on Monday. Kho-Kho is the second most popular traditional game in the Indian subcontinent after Kabaddi. Haitians make kites as part of Easter traditions in the country plagued by rampant crime and political instability. Children and adults crafted colorful paper kites, an Easter tradition in the Caribbean nation akin to painting eggs. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.